Yeah, correct. We will just resume as though nothing happens. Okay, I'm gonna mute. Okay, wait, hold on. Wait for your slides first.
Just need
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself and then you can just start presenting.
I'm Gilly Craft of Kaboo Interiors. Designing for this sector does not need to be formulaic and obvious. The word is getting out there, but I think there is a way to go yet. Knowledge is key when designing for this sector. A knowledge of how to design is not enough. An understanding of the challenges facing those with dementia and Alzheimer's is paramount. Understanding how we then design for impairment, such as dementia and Alzheimer's, is key. A space designed well and fit for purpose stimulates and encourages interaction and well-being. There are certain rules to follow in this type of design, but this should not limit the overall finish. Avoiding hazards at the same time as creating a homely feel is the end goal. It is all about removing barriers to the person's understanding of the space. We must take into consideration how things are perceived. Bars or lines in carpets and flooring, as shown in this slide, can be seen as barriers, and people can refuse to cross that barrier. Swirling patterns can be disorientating. Large dark circles can be seen as holes, and so would be avoided in case the person falls into that hole. Speckles or smaller patterns can be seen as pieces of rubbish or dirt, and a person with dementia or Alzheimer's would see that as something that needs to be constantly picked up. Shiny, glossy, or pearlescent floors should be avoided, as they could be perceived as wet and therefore a slip hazard, and therefore something not to cross. Ideally, have a good contrast between skirtings, carpets, and flooring. Any transitions between different types of flooring, for example, vinyl and carpet as shown here, should be visually minimized. Sadly, I have witnessed many times lots of care homes that use vinyl fabric to do their upholstery. They think it's the best thing that they can do. They think it's the better fabric for cleaning. It really isn't. Sitting on a vinyl chair in a hot room in the summer, if the person gets hot and sweaty, they become very upset because they think they may have wet themselves. Incontinence is an issue anyway. So why would you want to make it worse? Just the fear can make a person decrease their fluid intake, which I'm sure we can all agree is to be avoided. Ask yourself the question, is the fabric fit for purpose in the long term? Consider whether it needs to be waterproofed, FR, impervious, can it be cleaned? Is it stain resistant? Does it need to be antimicrobial? Everyone should be considered, residents, staff, and families. Everyone wants to feel that they are living in a home with a 5-star feel. Contrast the seating from the flooring and the walls. Seniors need 3 times more light than younger people to see and have diminished depth perception anyway. The scheme should be stimulating and not disturbing. Use colours that spark an individual's memories. Using coloured fabrics in the piping or in a leading edge on the curtains can help with seeing things as what they are and where they are in the room. When thinking about fabrics, think about the perception of the environment by the individual. Try not to use literal designs, use stylized or abstract designs. Obvious stripes in a curtain fabric at a window can be seen as bars. Here is an example of a bad fabric to use. The drawings of the leaves are far too literal. Instead, a good fabric to use would be the other one, which refers to nature with the feel and the colours, but is very abstract. Paint and colour. There is no straight answer to what the correct colour is to use in designing for this sector. I'm going to talk about colour theory first. Strong and warm colours enliven and promote well-being. For example, let's take blue. Blue represents peace, tranquility, calm, stability, harmony, unity, trust, confidence. How colour behaves in relation to other colours and shapes is a complex area of colour theory. Colour theory is a vast subject, a science and art unto itself. A colour can evoke one reaction in one person, but may evoke the opposite in another. This can be due to culture, prior association, or just personal preference. What must be considered is hue, saturation, tone, and LRV, or light reflectance value. And this is what is important. Every colour has, as well as colour reference, an LRV. Colours that have similar LRV are difficult to differentiate when you have limited sight or the inability to process. Always look to have more than 30% LRV between the colours. White, for example, has 95% LRV. Black has only 2%. It is the light reflectance value that is the key. The 30 points of difference between the floor and the wall and the ceiling must be present. If they're too close, the person with dementia or Alzheimer's cannot differentiate. I think the days of magnolia and silk paints are very much over, or at least I hope they are. Use different colours for different areas and activities. These can be different in different environments, but think about who you're actually designing for. Primary colours for doors aids recognition and can make corridors easier to navigate. Having each person's door painted in a different colour can also help them to remember which room is theirs. A photograph on the outside of the door is also a good idea. Contrasting colours should be used in the bathroom on grab rails, toilet seats, etc. Inactivity causes depression, and it is often a slippery slope. Televisions encourage people to be static and unsociable, so consider a fish tank as the focal point in a room instead. Interior decor can encourage activity and participation. How about a cinema room decorated with old film posters? A sweet shop stocked with vintage sweets in an old-fashioned jar? A tea shop with vintage china and proper teapots? The more imaginative the use of materials in social areas, the more it becomes a talking point and a meeting point. It provides areas for sociability. Artwork that reflects what happens in each area, such as pictures of musical instruments, games, etc. A piano or gramophone. Gardening clothes and tools with pictures of flowers and plants. How about having some window boxes with soil and the ability to actually plant? Old-fashioned hairdressing signs and barber poles. Wall covering and art that can give an indication as to the activity in the space can be used to great effect, as well as being pleasing to the users of that space. This is a dining area which we designed for a care home specialising in dementia care. The wall art we've used makes it clear that this is the dining room. The vintage style furniture harkens back to a bygone age, as many sufferers regress back to memories of when they were younger. People are able to live more peacefully and socially in a world that they can understand. The space that people live in needs to feel reassuring and comforting. Themed areas help create associations, and objects help residents make a connection with what happens in each area. It helps maintain a sense of order and understanding. Always avoid colours that may be seen as signs of danger. I have seen reception desks with a red painted wall behind them, honestly to be avoided. Avoid images that can also be disturbing. Not everyone with dementia or Alzheimer's will have the same needs or perceptions, and a one-size-fits-all approach should not be used. However, the knowledge and the tools are out there to help you create spaces that people with dementia and Alzheimer's can enjoy living in. We need to change perceptions on what is well-designed spaces. It takes imagination and skill, but a lot can be achieved with the right design. I would like to thank the various specialist care homes whose wonderful work we have showcased here. Gaboo Interiors, specialists in healthcare design, specifically designing for dementia and Alzheimer's care. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gilly. That was a really informative presentation, which I enjoyed. I wonder if you might just be able to say a little bit more about colour. You mentioned colour theory. Can you maybe just expand a little bit about what you think the role of colour is in creating a familiar environment for people living with dementia?
Again, as I said in the presentation, it is very much down sometimes to culture and people's personal perceptions. Colour theory is a vast, vast subject, and a lot of research has been done on how colour reflects on people's moods, especially those with dementia and Alzheimer's. But it is very much down also to research. I think the biggest key is to do your research of the person that you are designing that space for. A certain colour, for example, in one religion would mean something completely different in another religion. So you have to take that into consideration, as well as what certain different colours can evoke in somebody. As I was saying, a red wall behind a reception desk is not a great idea, because obviously red can invoke anger in some people, and you should try and go for calming colours. Again, blue is a great colour, or muted colours, and then use primary colours. Using primary colours in dementia and Alzheimer's designing is a really great idea to really define different things, because primary colours are the last thing that your perception can no longer see. So a shade of something that is muted, you would lose that perception, whereas a primary colour, you would be able to see it for longer. It's one of the last things that does go.
Thanks, Gilly.